We're usually taught that being smart is all about having quick answers and thinking in a straight line. But what if that's not the full story? What if the real signs of a high IQ are hidden in the quiet, often misunderstood routines that shape how someone sees the world? Today, we're exploring 10 of those habits. We'll look at the science that connects them to high intelligence and, more importantly, give you simple things you can start trying today. This isn't about becoming a genius overnight. It's about learning to think like one. 1. Insatiable curiosity. The first and most important habit of a highly intelligent mind is a deep, almost childlike curiosity. This isn't just a casual interest in new things. It's a burning need to understand the why behind everything, even the stuff we take for granted. Most people see a smartphone and just use it. A highly intelligent person feels an itch to understand how the battery works, how the processor handles information, or how the glass screen was made so tough. This isn't about showing off or winning a trivia night. It's a built-in need. And there's a cool reason why this works. Neuroscience tells us that when we're truly curious, our brains release dopamine, which is a chemical that makes learning more rewarding and helps lock in memories. That dopamine hit basically gets the brain excited to learn. The sharpest minds are constantly in this state, always building new connections by exploring complex ideas, comparing different points of view, and jumping into fields that have nothing to do with their own. They don't just skim, they absorb how things work, driven by an internal reward system, not by trying to impress anyone. 2. Questioning everything. That curiosity leads directly to the next habit, questioning everything. People with high IQs rarely accept something as true just because someone said so, no matter how official the source is. They have a healthy built-in skepticism that pushes them to poke holes in assumptions, challenge authority, and search for flaws in logic. This isn't about being negative or difficult. It's about a deep desire to find the objective truth, away from emotional bias or peer pressure. Psychologists call this active critical thinking. It's the skill of analyzing information, spotting the counter-arguments, and resisting pressure from people who say, just because I said so. This way of thinking helps them make smarter, more rational decisions, because their conclusions are built on evidence they've actually checked for themselves. They know that even experts can be wrong, and that popular opinion is often a terrible substitute for solid analysis. 3. Comfort with solitude. In a world that never seems to shut up, wanting to be alone is often seen as being lonely or antisocial. But for highly intelligent people, solitude is a powerful and essential tool for deep thinking. They intentionally seek out quiet time, not to run away from the world, but to actually connect with their own thoughts. In fact, some studies show they report being less happy with more frequent socializing, not because they dislike people, but because deep thought requires brain power that constant social interaction drains. Here's how to try it. Schedule 30 minutes of real, uninterrupted alone time into your day. That means no phone, no computer, no music, no podcasts. Go for a walk, sit in a quiet room, or just be still. Let your mind wander wherever it wants, or maybe do some free-form journaling. The goal is to give your brain the space it needs to work. 4. Layered, non-linear thinking. Most of us are taught to think in a straight line, from A to B to C, but highly intelligent minds often don't work that way. They use a layered, non-linear approach. This means they can hold multiple, even conflicting ideas in their head at the same time and see how seemingly random concepts connect. Instead of a straight line, their thought process is more like a web, jumping between different ideas and fields to build a bigger, more complete picture. This is where real innovation comes from. A linear thinker might try to fix a problem by making a small improvement to what already exists. A non-linear thinker might fix that same problem by borrowing in of an idea from biology, applying a principle from music, and looking at it through a philosophical lens. Their brain stays plugged into a problem long after a conversation is over, letting their subconscious chew on it from different angles. This allows them to come up with truly original solutions that a step-by-step approach would never reach. 5. Admitting I don't know. It sounds like a paradox, but one of the clearest signs of high intelligence is being perfectly comfortable saying, I don't know. In a world that often rewards faking it till you make it, truly smart people are more interested in what's true than in looking like an expert. They have a good grasp of the Dunning-Kruger effect, the cognitive bias where people who know the least about something are the most likely to overestimate their own expertise. They're so unaware of their own gaps that they can't see them. Highly intelligent people, on the other hand, are painfully aware of how much they don't know. This intellectual humility isn't weakness, it's a superpower of self-awareness. They see every gap in their knowledge not as a failure, but as a fantastic opportunity to learn something new. Admitting I don't know opens the door to discovery, while pretending you know everything slams it shut. 6. Tolerance for mess and disorder. This one might go against everything you've ever heard about productivity, but a messy desk can actually be a sign of a highly creative and intelligent mind. While a super tidy space encourages us to be conventional and play it safe, research from the University of Minnesota discovered that a disorderly environment can actually boost creative thinking and spark new ideas. In the study, people in a messy room came up with ideas that were judged as way more creative and interesting than the ideas from people in a neat room. The theory is that a bit of chaos helps break us out of our rigid, traditional thinking patterns, letting our minds make surprising connections. For these people, the mess on the outside doesn't mean there's a mess on the inside. 7. Internal self-talk and simulations. If you've ever caught yourself talking out loud when you're alone, you might be in pretty good company. Research shows that talking to yourself is a powerful tool many intelligent people use to organize their thoughts, handle their emotions, and work through tough problems. Saying your thoughts out loud helps make them more concrete and easier to examine, turning a jumble of abstract ideas into clear language. 8. Open-minded updates. High intelligence is less about being right and more about becoming right. A core habit of a sharp mind is the willingness to change your beliefs when you get new, solid evidence. This trait, known as cognitive flexibility, is the exact opposite of being dogmatic. These people care more about being accurate than about protecting their ego, and they know that clinging to an outdated belief is a recipe for stagnation. 9. Strategic mental energy conservation. Highly intelligent people can sometimes come across as lazy, but what looks like laziness is often a masterful strategic conservation of mental energy. They understand that their brain power is a limited resource, and they are absolutely ruthless about protecting it. They do this by putting routine decisions on autopilot, creating strict daily routines, and aggressively avoiding tasks that drain their mental batteries for little reward. 10. Daydreaming and mind wandering. Our final habit is one that gets you in trouble in classrooms and scolded in offices: daydreaming. But fascinating research from the Georgia Institute of Technology found a strong link between mind wandering and intelligence. Using MRI scans, researchers saw that people who said they daydream more often also scored higher on tests of intellectual and creative ability, and actually had more efficient brain systems. These absent-minded moments are actually when the brain is busy making new connections and solving problems in the background. These habits show us that intelligence is way more interesting and accessible than we thought, and these aren't secret gifts that only a few people are born with. They're skills you can actually build. We know the brain is flexible, and by intentionally practicing these behaviors, we can all learn to think with more creativity and clarity.